All right, I'm going to refresh. We might get some feedback here for a quick second. Video is now live. All right, I'm going to. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Okay. So we are live. We'll give it a few minutes. Let everyone hop on. We got Jay, we got D, and then we got myself. RJ, what's up, RJ? Nothing much, man. Just kidding. Good day, awesome day, Sunday, happy Sunday, everyone. We're just talking about pizza in the backstage before we went live, and
yeah, kind of. RJ was asking what I was up to last night or whatever, and I was just saying it's Dee's birthday coming up. Yay!
And tomorrow.
So last night we ended up having Stacy and I had Dan and Dion over. Dan is Dee's husband. We had some drinks around the fire, had some good laughs, and ordered some Papa John's. Like, it's nice to have that Papa John's in Canada now, which is pretty cool. It's good stuff.
To have a interesting, like the crust, the dough is pretty interesting. I like how they do that with the dough. I don't know, it has like a different taste, and it's pretty good though.
Oh, she's drinking from her birthday cup.
Yeah, I got this birthday cup from Stacy and Jay. I don't even know, like, you guys know me crazy. Yeah, Starbucks. But you know, I have this crazy fascination, like this obsession with these mugs. So like I have a whole Ray Dunn collection, and then this thing last year, it sold out online in like a minute. I had one in my cart and someone else snagged it on me before I could get my payment details in. And I was so upset because then like 5 minutes later, they were going for like $75, $100. And I was like, this is like a $30 cup. But it's awesome. I don't know if you can see, but it has like that, I don't know, like almost like a holographic thing to it. I love it. Love it. And I'm wearing my onesie that I also got yesterday. And I just have to share with you, you know, I have a couple onesies, like Roots, the Canadian company that makes like sweaters and like cozy apparel for Canadians. They have onesies, right? And they're full on zip up. And I love them for winter. But the problem with those onesies is that like when it's cold out, or like you keep your house kind of cool and maybe you like have a fire going in one room, when you have to go to the bathroom, you have to like zip the whole thing off, right? Like there's no flap. And then I'm like, so then you're freezing while you're going to the bathroom. And so like this one, it comes with a butt flap, right? Genius.
Hey, Dean, no twerking on the live, please. Thank you. I'm just kidding.
Come on now.
That's great. I'm happy you're happy. Like, you're rocking all your birthday shit right now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been having a great day. And so our content today, like this is kind of what our topic is today, like what the lifestyle of online sales people, I guess, or online sellers is, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Should we? Yeah, it's like 7:06.
Yeah, we can go ahead and hop into it. First things first, everyone give this video a thumbs up. And if you guys have any questions related to, I think it's like a kind of like almost like a free day kind of. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Etsy, anything related to Etsy, anything, please ask. And yeah, share the video too as well. So go ahead, D, take it away. All you.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say that like we just kind of wanted to come on because we were all kind of like talking about what life was like before we started selling online, right? And so I know for me, like I was going into these jobs and I was good. I was a corporate climber. So like I was getting more advanced positions in the career choice that I had, or the career segment that I was working in, which was like marketing, advertising, communications. And, you know, Sundays kind of sucked for me when I was working that full-time job, right? Like mostly it was because, you know, it started out the job as like a 40-hour work week, right? 37 and a half actually. And by the time I left that job, just shy of 5 years in, it was like a 60, 70-hour work week that I was working for like the same pay. Honestly, the same pay, like I had gone up in pay because my title had changed over the course of that time, obviously, and I had been upwardly mobile in the company. But it was kind of like, you know, I didn't understand that having this managerial role would also mean that like my hours ballooned out. It was still supposed to be a 37 and a half hour work week. So, on Sundays, I would be dreading, like right now, so like it's 7 p.m. Sunday, I'd kind of just be dreading going back to work. And it wasn't necessarily because I hated my job. Like I liked my job. I want to kind of stress that. I loved marketing. I love communications. It's kind of a career path that was built for me. But it was the fact that I didn't love who I was working with or who I was working for. I didn't love that I didn't have control over the projects that I worked on, or whether, a top-down decision would be made that would render my work for months useless. And it would wear on you after a while, especially when the hours start ballooning out. So then instead of going to work and working your 9 to 5, you're working a 9 till 9, most days of the week to try and get these projects done. And one of the things that was happening, so it's no secret, I worked for General Motors of Canada. So one of the things that had been happening consistently for years was GM was laying off people in the office, and then just instead of later hiring those people back because the workload that they were doing was so immense, just kind of filtering that workload onto different positions that hadn't been laid off or let go, right? And so that was why the workload just kept increasing and getting ever bigger and bigger and bigger. And way back in the heyday of the 80s when GM was like booming, people didn't mind that workload increase because all of the bonus benefits were there, right? Like you could have a company car, you could go to the auto show, or there was always tickets to things or prizes you could win. There was like all these cool incentives. But by the time I got there, most of those incentives had kind of been kiboshed. And you were just basically working for this paycheck, and a lot of weird things were happening in the corporate culture too, where you'd have these people who were like backstabbing other people. It was just like a toxic kind of culture, and you'd see a lot of the time, like nepotism was playing a role. So-and-so's daddy got them the job, and because their dad was like a VP, all of a sudden that person's getting promoted, even if they didn't do any work, and all that stuff just kind of, it wears on you after a while, especially if the leadership in your department isn't doing what they need to do, doing the most to kind of keep you motivated, keep you engaged, and they're treating you more like a number, right? And I think for my specific area too, geographically, GM has always been looked at as an amazing job. So a lot of people who work there were just thankful to work there, right? And I feel like, higher levels of management would sometimes use that to their advantage, knowing that like there weren't that many high-paying jobs in that local area. So you didn't want to lose your job. You didn't want to be on that list that was potential to get laid off. So you better show up and do a lot of work and work these extra hours and, not question anything. Right. Mm-hmm. So like my life before, like I would be dreading going back to work. It would start midday for me on Sunday, literally. I would get up in the morning. I would have my Sunday, like slow vibes. I'd just be chilling. And then, by 12, 1 o'clock, I start thinking, okay, well, I got to get back into mental mindset for work, and then I have to make sure my clothes are ready. I have to have my lunches, like what I'm going to have for that week. I got to make sure all my projects that, maybe I had brought home with me to work on over the weekend were in a good place for the meetings that I was going to have that next week. And like, it was just not a fun experience, right? Like I was having all of this anxiety about going back to work, not because, again, the job was hard. I loved the job, but because of the people and the dynamics and the culture and all of that, it's like you have to essentially put on armor to go into work, right? Like you put on your work face and then there you are. So how that's changed, it's been a massive change, basically since I started working for myself, right? Like, and I'm not gonna beat around the bush about it either. Like I kept that job until I was able to sustain myself through the shops and online selling. At that time, it was only one brand that was basically paying my income. So I'd replaced my income. And then basically I kind of created myself another job, which now, looking back on, I'm like, wow, that was a mistake. Right. So for the next 5 years, I did work in my online store, but I was so busy working in the store that I didn't often have as much time as I wanted to work on the store. Right. And so that's where, being, 5 or 6 years out from that, I'm kind of seeing a whole difference. Right. Like, I'm like, wow, now it's a whole different scenario. Now I work with print on demand. I'm not making everything in my basement. But it's like, you know, last night I went out, I had a few wobbly pops, so I had a good time. I had a nice blue fire. Stacy made the fire change some colors for me, and I was like, that's really cool. I got this wicked mug. And then I just woke up this morning and like literally I'm in my PJs and I've had a couch day and I have not had worries today. You know, like I haven't had that anxiety, that sinking feeling of like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to go back to this place that I hate, or this place where my coworkers I'm not super fond of, or this toxic work environment, right? And I feel like that's kind of the power or the freedom of working for yourself, right? Like not only now do I get to pick and choose the projects that I get to work on, I get to pick and choose who I work with. I get to pick and choose when I work for the most part. Sorry, my husband's moving around here, so my dog's, you're probably hearing him clack, 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 clack. But yeah, like it's just such a different experience. And then like not only that, but I also have the autonomy of knowing that what I'm working on is like directly impactful in my life. Like there's this whole myth that you get told when you're, you know, growing up essentially. And it's that if you go to school and you work hard, that you're going to have an amazing life. And I think people that are like my age or my generation, like there's this whole ideology that like that was supposed to be like how it worked. And we were watching our parents' generation and that was how it worked for them. You know, they went to school, they got a good corporate career. They like probably retired in that career. They spent like 30 years at a company and then they got a good pension, right? And, you know, by the time I was in the corporate stratosphere, those kinds of benefits just weren't there anymore. Like there were fewer and fewer like lifetime jobs and fewer pensions and fewer ways to make sure that like, you know, the sacrifice that you're making of spending 8 hours a day for maybe 30 or 40 years of your life making somebody else rich was going to be met with like enough funding to take care of you when you retire, right? And so it's like looking at it now from where I sit, it's such a different experience, right? Because I know, you know, I've learned so much along the way about like marketing, about sales, about how to find the right niches, about keywords, about all the things that we're going to teach you in this challenge. And so I know that like, even when COVID happens, I can have a business. Even when, you know, there's crazy stuff happening all around me, I can still have a business that is selling online, you know, and it's like, it just gives you that personal sense of power that I don't think really anything else can.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. There's a lot of truth to that, and a lot of heart and a lot of love and a lot of like I think like emotional roller coaster in a way, right? Because it goes up and down.
For sure, it's actually like I don't know, almost like PTSD. I feel like you know, hearing you talk about that stuff, right? Because that's it. My situation wasn't, you know, it was obviously different, but it wasn't like completely out of the same scope. Man, like, so out of college, I basically dropped out of college second year in. I got offered for graphic design. I got offered a job that I knew. So when I started graphic design in college, let's go back to that. There was something like 100 or 80 to 100,000 positions available, and only 20 to 30,000 qualified candidates in the GTA, which is the Greater Toronto area, right? By the time I was in my second year, there was an oversaturation, like a surplus of like almost 100,000 unemployed graphic designers. And I was like thinking like, crap, like I don't have enough of the skill set yet in terms of the technicality stuff, you know, the tools and the, you know, the Photoshops, the illustrators and all that stuff to just start freelancing. You know, I was doing kind of dabbling my own, like airbrushing t-shirts and all that stuff all through high school. But, you know, I was like, what am I going to do? So luckily I ended up getting a job. I got an offer. Somebody liked how I was doing something. I did, you know, a menu for a restaurant, a couple of local logos and stuff, and still budding at this time. But they liked what I was doing enough to offer me a job. And I'm like, you know what? The pay was decent for that time for sure. And like, I gotta take this, right? And I learned more on that job in the first 6 months than I probably did than it probably would have been any kind of course, but college or university or whatnot. But I ended up there honing my skills really and getting really, really fast at what I was doing. It was laying out presentation folders for real estate companies. You've all seen them. So it'll say Century 21 on the front, and then you open it like an amortization calendar here of your mortgage, and then all the different ad spaces, and then whatever, right? And local businesses to that brokerage, right? So it's kind of like, you know, they're referring each other around or whatever. But so I did all the ads for that and laid them out, learned a lot and learned how to do it quickly. 5 years later, I got a job at Yellow Pages as a graphic designer. And that's where, you know, the story gets kind of similar to D. So it was you know, the corporate environment, hourly wage, the pay was good for the designer for sure. 18 months later, I get opportunity to get into management. I'm thinking, sweet, salary, great. You know, that salary number was a little bit higher than I was doing with my hourly with the overtime and stuff. So I'm like, but it's guaranteed. Awesome. You know, if I take a sick day, I'm still paid, that sort of thing, right? Paid vacation, that sort of stuff. So little did I know that 37.5 hour work week was going to be fucking 60 hours a goddamn week. Pardon my language, right? But you know what I mean? It was a pain in the ass. My Sundays, honest to God, like I would watch a movie with my wife after supper or something, and by like 9:30, she's going to bed, and then I'm getting on the laptop. I have to schedule meetings for 144 direct reports. I was managing 144 people for 8 months out of my, you know, tenure there, my first 8 months. So I'm new at this. I'm managing 144 graphic designers because one person quit and one person got let go just because the job was that kind of high octane. But I'm setting up meetings for the rest of the week, all this stuff. And the only time to do it is like on your weekends, right? It's all the catch up stuff. The rest of the time you're like trying to convince people who are, you know, the corporate environment. So it was like piecework. So you're trying to get people to do who are doing 12 ads a day to do 14 and trying to do that sort of thing. So super micromanaged. People who are like 2 years away from retirement, protected by a union, don't want to go outside of their bubble too much. They're in that groove. They're ready to retire. But then, you know, being a management now, I don't have the union protection. It was a non-union job. Layoffs coming down the line, and I was the lowest and youngest manager on the totem pole. So I'm like, what am I going to do? A friend of mine offered me a job at TD, said they were hiring. You just have to not really be an idiot. I'm like, okay, I'm in, right? I have nothing else to do. We were getting married, just secured a mortgage, thankfully. And I'm like, well, you know, just had my whole world potentially falling apart here. Like I'm going to lose the house I don't even own, and I'm going to lose all this down payment and whatever. So I jumped in there, and then it was a week of days and a week of nights on shift work. So like work at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 2 days, like Monday, Tuesday, and then you have Wednesday, Thursday off, and then you're back in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but p.m. So 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I'd be coming home Saturday morning at 8 o'clock and that sort of thing, 12-hour shifts. And then, you know, you have Monday, Tuesday off, and then you're back in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights kind of thing. So it was all over the place. Sleeping sucked. Gut-wrenching stress, and literally gut-wrenching. Like, and it got to a point where I was like literally becoming a bit of an asshole. I was short with the people I shouldn't have been. You know, like my mom and I have always gotten along, but when you start getting short with like your parents or your sibling or your spouse, like it's the wrong people, right? You're just taking out your aggression because you can't. You're just stuck. You're stuck. Thinking, waking up every morning, sitting my head in my hands before work, right? Because like you can't sleep at all. You can't sleep because you're too stressed and you're too exhausted to sleep. So when you wake up, you go to bed at midnight and you're looking at the clock till 3 a.m, knowing you have to get up at 4:45. Like it's the worst anxiety ever. And then you sit there with your head in your hands at the side of the bed every morning, wondering what the hell you can do to get out of work that day, right? Like then you get to work, and then we had the office communicator. It's like MSN, but inter office sort of thing. And at another location, a different province, one of the other managers there, we both ended up in management, a small crew there. He pings me, and his message was like, have you ever thought about like maybe throwing yourself down the stairs, not to kill yourself, but just to like maybe break an ankle so you could go to the hospital instead of come to work? And I was like, man, like I had thought about like closing my finger in a door just so that like I had an excuse not to, take a day off or go click the mouse. And I'm like, even that's terrible. And he like said something about like hurting his ankle or whatever. And I'm like, we were both just like, what are we doing? Like, this is stupid. Like, we're honestly thinking of physically doing harm to ourselves just so we don't have to show up to this job. And that's how that was at TD, and that's how the bank worked too on the inside of the data center, right? It's just, the pay raises were there, the benefits, the pension, all that stuff, but they just throw money at you and hope you slug it out. Meanwhile, it's literally crushing your soul, right? So yeah, with the shift work though, I ended up just plugging away and building a freelance graphic design business on the side because I hated it. And then eventually put up some ads to do logos and work for anybody else. And I got a call from somebody who saw my ad, wanted me to design T-shirts for them. They had an Etsy shop. And I was like, okay, I don't know. He's like, yeah, I'll just send you some quotes. Just make them look pretty. I'm like, okay, great. Had a lot of experience with text layout and stuff like that, so it kind of came pretty natural to me. And then he was buying my designs for like $10 a pop, and then we made a shift pretty quickly to, well, why don't I just pay you, $3 or $4 for every shirt that I sell? Like, sounds even better than if I don't do, it puts the onus on me to do better work, and then. Yeah, so that kind of evolved, and then I was like, well, this guy's onto something here. Like, I'm going to open my own shop, and that's kind of where, the catalyst for me getting to where I am now. But in that same breath, like, how nice was it? So my wife and I last night had a fire. We had Dion and Dan over. Dan is Dee's husband, and it's her birthday coming up. And we were able to, like, I don't know, sit around and do, like, normal people things with the people you like, right? When you're not in that corporate environment, stressed out about work, and just kind of chill out. And today was had a fire, had some drinks, and today was kind of like, it was a rainy day. It was just nice to sit on the couch and not have to stress about trying to get up to make schedule meetings for the rest of the week and feeling like a piece of crap. Like, it was just nice to unplug for a bit. You talk to the people you want, you don't talk to the people you don't want to. Yeah, it's just the ability. Like, I worked a little bit yesterday morning. You know why? Because I enjoy what I do now, right? It's Saturday, but who cares, right? It's fun. I worked like 4 or 5 hours yesterday, but because I wanted to, because I know it's helping me, it's helping my wife, it's helping, our situation, and I enjoy it. Nobody's crawling down my neck and making me work for free on weekends anymore. I don't know. That's me,
control, right? Like, that's the thing. It's all about having that control over your day.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Jay, what was it like for you on a Sunday before you started selling online?
I was over here thinking, like, okay, how am I going to start this story? And I don't know. Like, I think I'm going to start off with when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I'm going to I grew up as a kid, right? And my grandpa was I'm always going to talk about my grandpa. If you guys don't know who I am as an individual, my grandpa is like my number one supporter. He's everything to me. And he's probably everything that I post, he likes because he loves me. You know what I mean? He supports everything that I do. So, and I think it's really cool because growing up as a kid, I was always good in sports and always being good at being a team leader. And and there was a time where I was mean to some people on my team and make them cry, right? And I was like, dude, that's you're just a dickhead. Excuse my language. You can't do that to other people. You can't be mean to other people. You're supposed to be teaching them the way to how to do it so they can be just as good as you, if not going to be better. Because I can't say, hey, I'm going to teach you so you can be better than me, right? I'm just kidding. But it's equal, right? Equal, right? And if you get better than me, you better teach me how to be better than me, right? So it's in a way, I just grew up that way, right? And then going through life, I worked at Kmart, I worked at A&W, where the hell? Jody Maroney's, the sausage factory. My grandpa wanted me to work for the city of Banning, and that's where, because he worked for the water department for over 30 years, right? And this guy's over I think 39 years altogether for the water department, and he has like 4 or 5 different licenses, and he was like my role model, right? I'm like, dude, how do you have so many licenses? I thought you can only have one. It's like, no, you can have a ton of licenses. It depends. Like, you drive a tractor, you can drive like a dump truck, stuff like that. And I was like, dude, that's crazy. That's amazing. And I just always looked up to him. And then when I do something wrong, I knew I did something wrong, right? So I'll come to him with my head down, like, oh man, I don't know how to tell him. He might punch me. You know what I mean? He might punch me and ground me or whatever. And he only whooped my butt one time when I was like 4 years old. But just going through all the stuff and learning about how to work and how to meet individuals like in real life, and have that one-on-one like conversation with somebody and make them happy, or get to know them for who they are, or even learn from other individuals, was like a big thing and made me happy. You know what I mean? It was weird. And doing that throughout my whole life. And then I sold A&W, Jody Maroney's, and then I worked at Todd's, the retail company. And then I worked at Sabatel Ferragamo, became a sales associate there. Got paid commission. I would have people buy things and I would sell it to them. And I really didn't sell nothing to them. I just actually was there for their convenience to help them. I wasn't a salesy person. And next I got a job at Bottega Veneta. And that right there opened the doors for me. Like, I was crushing over there. I was all about teamwork and helping other sales associates make money and stuff like that. And that was like my big thing, just to help others. And I was like working retail, working all these weird hours, right? Sometimes I'll have Tuesday off. Sometimes I'll have Wednesday off. Sometimes I'll have Sunday off. I'm like, yep, I'm going to go party Sunday, 21 years old. And I'm crushing it with this job. And I have a really awesome job. I'm going to go out, you know? So I was like, okay, cool. And then all of a sudden it started getting old. I'm like, dude, it's like, I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired of being told what to do. You know what I mean? And I know what I'm doing, because obviously I'm putting up awesome sales numbers and I'm crushing it. And I have a good clientele base, and I built this relationship with people. They would come into the store and ask for me by name, and because they wanted me to help them. I was like, cool, that's weird, dude. That's crazy. Like, how can I do that? But then just the way I was with people, even I would have clients come in and tell me like, hey, you know, you can start your own business because the way you are, the way you treat people, or the way you treat others with respect and stuff like that, that goes a long way. And I was like, interesting. So I was like, you know what? I was like, let me just test it. Let me try to sell something online. So I sold a Amazon FBA, listed a product, and I sold something. I was like, dude, I lost money, but it worked. You know what I mean? And I was like, it worked. So ever since then, I don't know, I started creating content to help others. I've been like, I don't know, just to help others. And it's cool to see people learn from what I create and stuff like that. That kind of makes a big impact on me as an individual. Meet people. Ron, for example, said hi to Jay right before he started. He's in the other room. I met this guy on YouTube, by the way. And I was like, you know what? And then he came to my conference that I had back in January, and he was stuck in the elevator. And I was like, you know what? I was like, come hang out with me. I'll come downtown, and we'll get a couple of drinks together. And this dude he's like, I never really thought you would be like that in real life. I'm just like, I'm me. I'm not hiding. I'm not hiding behind nothing. I'm here. I'm me. What's up, man? Give me a hug. Forget this coronavirus. Give me a hug. Wear your face mask. Give me a hug. And then that's what it is. You know what I mean? It just no bluff, no nothing, and just show love, get love. That's all it is.
I think that's, you hit the nail on the head there in one respect, because I think everybody who's actually met us realizes that we are the same people that, you know, everybody sees on screen or whatever. Like, there's no
and we're so transparent, right? Like, that's the thing. We are ourselves. Right? Like,
I really want there's a genuine want here, yearn for me to help as many of whoever's watching out there, you know, to not have to stress about going to work Monday morning, or that commute, right? It's a different mindset when you can, you know, wake up, have a coffee, enjoy your Monday morning with your significant other or your pet or both or whatever, right? Or yourself.
You just want to hang out by yourself, and you're like,
yeah. I was going to say, like, I one of my favorite times of day is like obviously with Stacy and my dog Tonka, but sometimes I'll be up a little extra early, and just when the sun's coming up around 6 or something, just because I enjoy waking up every day now, to have a coffee out back and just listen. I back onto like a few acres of forest. I don't own any of it, but that's what I back onto. Yeah, like you hear the frogs and the crickets still, and they kind of like give way to the birds and the chirping, and it's just so much better than when I was in the more urban, I guess, areas where you're hearing car horns and traffic, all that stuff all the time. And then just knowing that I don't have to be in part of that traffic, right? And all I have to do is have a coffee, go top up, an hour later, go to my computer, log in, and I'm already at work. I don't have to fight snow in the winter. I don't have to fight, you know, assholes on the road. Like, yeah.
It's like, it's literally such a different experience because I was saying, just a little while ago, even to Dan, right? Like, oh, I'm muted. Am I muted?
No, you're good. You're good. I hear you.
I thought you were saying I was muted. I was like, what? No, but I was saying just like a little while ago to Dan that like even where we lived was influenced by where we worked, right? So like before we were selling online or I was selling online, it was like we would live in these like areas that were like high traffic, high stress, high-ish crime in the area, because as the closer you get to the city, the more the crime statistics tend to like just go up in this direction. So we're still suburbanites, but like you're seeing all of this different stuff going on. And then, like we were just kind of tethered, right? Because like you didn't want to live more than like an hour's drive from work. So like you only had so many spots depending on where you're working to choose from. And so, dealing with the traffic, dealing with the jerk drivers, dealing with, sometimes like the accidents, and now you're late for work and now your boss is going to breathe down your neck for being late for work when like literally, I don't know what they wanted you to do. Like your car's not a helicopter. You're not going to fly, you know what I mean? But you're stuck and stuff like that. And it was just like the stress of all of that stuff just like goes away when you're finally able to make your online income your primary income. Right. And so, it's like night and day the amount of difference there is in the day-to-day thing now. Like, and that's not to say it's still not hard work, because I think sometimes there's this perception that, we're just sitting here selling courses and not actually working on our own shops or like actually putting in work on the things that we're talking about. And the reality of the situation is that's not true. Like we have our shops, we have our online sales, some of them in different places, like right now, Arju's crushing it over there on merch. Jay and I have Etsy shops. I used to have a Shopify shop. I still am a Shopify coach, and I help people with their marketing and communications locally where I live to get their marketing tight so that they can start to attract the right audience to their Shopify stores and things. And it's like, it's such a different and more liberating experience than literally having to go to work every day, having to work for somebody else, and having that somebody else, for whatever reason, decide, your fate, like decide literally maybe sometimes if you're going to have a job the next day, or like if layoffs are coming down the pipe, or the company's not doing as well, or even sometimes you get these people where, for real, they just come from a different background. Like, I don't know. I think all three of us are kind of scrappy people, right? Like we all came from a background that was a little bit different, but, I grew up relatively poor, and it's not because, of any other reason than like I was, the product of a single parent family, right? I had a brother and a sister, but they were much older and out of the house by the time I was being raised. But my mom just didn't really manage her money well because she was mentally unwell. Okay. So because of that, it was like, sometimes it was very much feast or famine the way that I grew up, right? Where, sometimes the food was in the fridge and it was stocked, and other times you were eating craft dinner for like a month at a time, and that was like your meal. And I think growing up in that kind of an environment where like my mom was a bit unstable, whether we were going to have food on the table was a bit unstable. It just made me a scrappy person. Like I went to school, I did well in school. Like I would really focus hard on whatever avenue that I thought could get me to a better place in my life, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's basically like so many people have said to me over the years, like people who know me personally, who know, I put myself through school. I went on scholarship partially for the first year that I went, who watched me climb out of this, like literally it was geared to income housing that we lived in. Right. Mm-hmm. So like climbing out of that socioeconomic background and into like our first home that we owned, and then into our second home that we owned, and then seeing me climb a corporate ladder, they would always say to me, I'm so proud of you. You're so accomplished, all these things. And I would never feel okay, like oddly, about being complimented. You know what I mean? Yep. Because for me, none of that stuff was done so that I could get a compliment for somebody. Like none of that stuff was done for anybody else. All the things that I was really working hard on was survival for me. Like I didn't want to live the way that I had grown up. I didn't want to feel beholden to a certain spot or a certain career or a certain employer. because I watched my mom get fired from GM and really like see her life spiral out after that because she had tied so much of herself up in that career, you know? And so a lot of these choices that I made in my own life, like when I was trying to figure out, you know, what's the better path? What's the better path for me to feel good in my life? What's the better path for me to have success? Really were born from my own internal need to be able to stand on my own 2 feet, you know, to be able to say that like, I lived my life and I did what I wanted to do. I took risks. I tried hard at things, and like everything I have is a result of what I've worked for. And then you would have those bosses, like, you know, the ones I'm talking about, where you're a scrappy person, you're in there, and like, you're bringing that scrappiness, that like ability to problem solve on the fly, that like certain thing that only you do. You're bringing that into your corporate position every single day. And those bosses, like, almost like it feels like they hate you for it. You know what I mean? Because maybe they're not that scrappy or they're not that good at problem solving. And it's like, you're instantly a threat when you're coming in, you're working hard and you're smart and you're good at things, right? And then all of a sudden, this person just doesn't like you, even though like literally you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, right? Like you're doing sometimes even more than what you're supposed to do in your job. You're going above and beyond because like you want to climb that ladder. You have a goal for yourself, right? And like just not having to deal with any of that stuff anymore. It's so liberating. Like I just can't even explain it to you. Like all of these little things that you don't even recognize are really just like oppressing or holding you down or making you feel bad in your day to day. When you're finally able to like step away from that job and you're making your own, it's like almost like you feel like you can float, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because all the pressure just weighing you on your shoulders isn't there anymore.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Like I guess I got my first taste of like a freedom outside, even after having worked for myself for a number of years. Was just over 2 years ago when my dad so basically my dad retired at 65, like the same thing. 2 years later, he got diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis. It's kind of like it's like a cancer. You get scarring on your lungs, like cysts, and then they scar, and then your lungs produce fluid to stop, to heal, but you end up basically drowning in that fluid. It's pretty much like a cancer, like, and then he was given a prognosis of 5 years, and then 5 years to the month, like that month, he passed. And his last words to me were kind of like, he was always a guy who was, save, do this, do that, make sure you save tight, not spending anything. He would wear, we got one pair of shoes a year and that was it. You burn out through them and you better find the duct tape. You know what I mean? But so when he passed, the one thing he was saying to me, because he was always worried about, he's like, when I quit, the job at the bank to go do my own thing, he's like, Jay, you're crazy. What are you doing? All you do is make me worry. He's like, if he wasn't bald, he'd be growing more gray hair than he already had, but he's like, I'm like, Dad, don't worry. I need to get more out of life. Like this corporate environment is crushing. It's brutal. I'm not happy. And I just want to be happy. And you know what I mean? And then he respected that. But in the same back of his mind, he's like, he doesn't know where his next paycheck's coming from. The same MO that you're kind of brainwashed into thinking, but he was doing his, ideals were coming from a place of solid gold in his heart. But what he told me on passing just before, like literally on his deathbed, like minutes, it was induced at home. And he said, go live your life. Don't wait. So that to me just like resonated beyond belief, because it was kind of like, I guess, the okay that I always wanted from him, right? In that respect. And that he got it. He gets it. Like he worked his whole life to make sure we had everything. And then 2 years later, after he retires, he's diagnosed. And then 2 years after that, he's like walking around with oxygen mask. A year later, he's in a wheelchair for the last 18 months, because he can't breathe. So he can't go anywhere. And then the anxiety that comes with all that. And then being a burden to, or his worry of being a burden to my sister, myself, and my mom kind of thing, who a lot of it fell on mom, but she's a soldier. But then, very shortly after that, we lost our dog at the time too, which was Brutus. He was awesome too. And then, but where I'm going with this in the good way, it's not all like sob story, but the words he said, like, go live your life, don't wait. Right. I looked at my wife Stacy, I was like, babe, like, okay, so both our family is healthy now. Like, you know, my dad had passed, my dog had passed, and then everybody else around us in our immediate families and friends we're you know, healthy and in good space. Like, we don't have kids. What are we doing? Why don't we just get out of here for a month or something and see what we can do? I can work my Etsy shops online on my laptop. All I need is internet. So let's just look at where we can go. And it was super daunting because we'd never done anything like that. But we ended up going to Costa Rica for a solid month, like all of October. No, sorry, November. All of November. We went October 30th to November 30th. And it was the coolest thing ever. I mean, I've got to experience so many things that you wouldn't be able to do on like a 5 or 7 day all inclusive somewhere or anything like that, right? Like we did Airbnbs, we did, you know, 4 days here, 5 days here, all around the country, and it was pretty awe-inspiring to see the hustle, the grind, the cultures. It's such a melting pot, and when you get down to the southeast end of different cultures, eating the stuff, the fresh stuff, living on the ocean like that, like I think that's how we're meant to be, right? But in the same breath, to open my laptop from 9 to 11 or so every morning, or maybe 5 to 8 or whatever in the morning, because you're up with the howler monkeys and stuff, to be able to just plug in and keep the wheels greased, right? Like I'm not really growing the Etsy shop at that point, but everything I've built is just kind of, you know, like sales come in, I answer some combos and I process the orders. And that was the great part about having the POD aspect of that, is like all of a sudden where I realized, like after that we came home and it was all depressing, right? Because like getting winter and everything was dying and then there's nothing, right? Like, so it's just like, what else can we do? What else can we do? So it's like, okay, let's open another Etsy shop. Let's do this, do that. Because you realize that the sky's the limit when you can honestly work from anywhere on the planet with internet. And I was like, so mind blown, right? Like it was the craziest feeling ever. Yeah. And then, you know, we came back, we were back for like 2 months. We're like, screw it, let's get out of here again. So we went to Belize. We have friends who ended up buying a house. So they had like a bunkie that they would Airbnb out or rent out, and we rented it off them for, you know, a pretty good deal. But again, staying with locals for 2 weeks instead of like the all-inclusive for like way more money. And then all the all-inclusives are the same, really, right? You get the whatever you have, imported food, a lot of it, the seafood, a lot of it is local, but some stuff's imported. And then all you can eat, all you can drink, and you have the beach. So like, I wanted a little more. I wanted to experience the culture, be a part of it, and, you know, that kind of thing. So it was really cool to just walk the streets and meet people and, you know, tell them what you do and find other people who are doing the same thing or who've been doing it their whole lives, right? You run into people who are like, oh, I came down. Yeah, I came here for a month too, 8 years ago. They just ended up never leaving, right? Because it's like, yeah, I run my business online. It's like, I got somebody at home running the shop and I do everything online. I'm like, that's amazing. So he's like, yeah, my only regret, honestly, is not having done it sooner. I guess that's the only thing, right? If I have to say that I have a regret. So I don't know. That's where I'm at. I don't think anybody should ever wait or feel stuck. We got one kick at this can that we call life, right? And I mean, if you don't take advantage of it, I mean, you're always going to sit on the fence and wonder, what if, right? Like, what if I didn't get into Etsy? What if I didn't do that? I wouldn't have been able to go meet RJ in California with Dion. I wouldn't have been able to fish that ocean with Dion's husband, Dan. I wouldn't have been able to, you know, experience, make lasting friendships. We keep in touch with some of the people we met in Costa Rica and Belize, right? Like, just seeing the world outside of your boundary. I mean, going, you know, having that from going when I was a kid to, you know, up until I moved out, the only trip we ever went on as a family was a road trip down to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for like a 4-day weekend, a long weekend. And we rented a trailer in a trailer park kind of thing, like one of those, like, I don't know, you know, like they were renting it all right on the beach or whatever. It was awesome. Yeah. And I'm super grateful because it was the coolest thing I had ever done at that point. But to be able to be handcuffed to a situation where, like, if you're in your corporate job, January hits, you got to book your holidays out, right? Like, you know, especially if you're fighting for that spot with the holidays with the rest of the crew, then how the hell are you going to even know if you're going to be sick or alive or whatever 6 months later when you're booking it for July off, right? Or August off? It makes no sense. So just to be able to pick up and go when you want, I think is is pretty awesome. I forget about that a lot of the time, but I'm like, man, we got to do that again. But enter COVID and stuff like that. Now renovating the garage, going to build a print shop, can't go anywhere anyway. So we might as well bring a lot of that inside, in-house.
Absolutely. So should we hop in and answer some of these questions? I saw somebody asking about free shipping and like, I think there was a strategy question in there somewhere.
If you guys are watching this too, make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, please ask. Those are awesome stories right there. Thank you for sharing, J&D. I think also too, just me as a kid growing up, it like me not respecting people's stories and listening to them. Me as a kid, it's just like growing up in a low income community. It's just like that's how you get. I'm not trying to like say anything negative, but that's how you get beat up. Like you don't respect people for who they are, and listen to their story. Like you're a piece of shit. Like how are you gonna clown on somebody and make fun of somebody? You know what I mean? When they're trying to share something with you, and then you're just not there listening or being disrespectful. And I don't mean that in a bad way to anybody that's watching this, but I just growing up as a kid is just your respect and love for others as human beings is exactly, you know what I mean? This is exactly how it is. So thank you guys for sharing those. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys too. Cause like, honestly, I know, obviously I was friends with Jay when all that stuff was happening with his dad and Brutus, but I've never heard him speak about it like that. So it's nice to hear your
yeah. I know. God damn it. I was like, God damn, you're going to make me cry over here.
No, but it is like, because it just kind of highlights at the end of the day, our each of our own personal whys, right? Like for me, I needed to make myself a sense of security. You know, I needed to be able to forge my own path in a sense in order to control what was happening in my life. And for Jay, it's like, you were already, I think, selling online when your father passed, obviously. But it was just like getting that secondary validation of like, go live your life, don't wait, right? Because none of us really know, honestly, how much time we have here. And I feel like it's so important for like a variety of different reasons to kind of keep those priorities, keep those goals that you're working on, keep your personal why at the center of everything that you're doing. Because when the challenges come, when, people dog you or like whatever, like when things actually get difficult, like maybe for some of you who are watching through COVID, like if you have stores or you were relying on merch and then merch got shut down, or you know what I mean? When all those things do become a challenge for you, it's that personal why that kind of gives you that extra strength to keep pushing, right? To keep moving forward, to keep trying your best to have the life that you want to live. And I feel like it's so important in terms of mindset too, to keep that stuff present, because that's what helps you stay positive. And I think what you'll notice about RJ, Jay, and myself is we really honestly try hard to keep it moving, keep it positive. You know what I mean? Like things may happen, like nobody has 100% great days all the time. You know what I'm saying? But like, I think how we all personally try to react to like whatever's happening around us, whatever's, happening even sometimes for our business. Like maybe sometimes we're working with a print on demand person and then all of a sudden that person's not doing as well as they were, you know what I mean? Like in terms of turnarounds or whatever. Like when we get faced with challenges, we try to look at the positive. We try to kind of step back from the emotion that you might be feeling at that moment, that like maybe it's fear, maybe it's anger, whatever it is. I think we all are really good at taking that kind of 2 steps back and like giving ourselves a minute to calm down and then coming back to the table and looking for the silver lining in the cloud. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I think that's so important. And I just kind of want to share one quick story and then we'll answer some questions real quick. But when I was working on my handmade children's apparel brand, so like I started that brand back in 2009, and I had started working on projects for that brand before 2009. Like just little products that I knew I wanted to have in my store or whatever. And by the time we started to get really popular and like our stuff was going, was being carried in stores around the world, basically what was happening was like AliExpress sellers had started kind of copying all of our stuff. So they were taking pictures off of our Instagram, they were taking pictures out of the online stores, and they were just like trying to replicate the products that I was putting together. And these were like exclusive for my shop. Like I would put bundles together for like newborns. So like maybe like a beanie, a onesie, and some cute little pants or like stuff like that, right? Like little bundles. And I remember how at first I was so outraged and so upset. And I just started like really playing whack-a-mole with those AliExpress stores because the copyright laws are different over there, right? So like here in Canada, you know, if somebody's doing that to you, there's some recourse. Like you can make them stop copying your stuff and stealing your photos and pretending to be your brand. But when it's over there, overseas, their laws are different. So like you'd shut down one store and another one would pop up, and then you'd shut down another one and another one would pop up. And I just remember thinking, you know, I'm spending so much time focusing on this, right? Like I'm spending my days looking for all these copycats, and like then people are tagging me and this person copied you, that person copied you, like whatever. And what if I just kind of stop? Because I keep playing whack-a-mole, and I'm going to keep playing whack-a-mole until basically forever. Like there's nothing I can do to really stop what's happening in China. Like they're just going to rip me off. They're like every store that I shut down gets another one put up, and then maybe they're marketing differently, so I'm not seeing them right away. Maybe they're going into other areas that I'm not as prevalent, right? And so I thought, what if I just reapply my time? Like instead of caring so much and like just getting so angry and frustrated and like looking at this problem all the time, what if I just reapply my time, think of it as a positive, think of it as like, so some of my tattoo sleeves and some of my designs are going to be in other places. They're not going to be your quality, but people are going to either hate it and come find the real thing or whatever. And like, if I can just refocus and spend time designing, spend time upping my marketing game, spend time getting in different places, right? So that people can really see my stuff, maybe like this isn't going to bother me so much. Like maybe my fan base, which at the time was like 17,000 people on Instagram, and I think close to 70,000 people on Facebook, right? Maybe my fan base is going to like galvanize, and they'll go after those people, and they'll be like in those copycat groups talking to people, telling them, you know, everything. Because I'm making my own patterns from scratch. You know, I'm working hard in this shop when it was handmade to make it super unique and cute. And that's basically what happened. But like, I just remember feeling honestly that it was like a point in the road that I could choose two paths. You know what I mean? I'm at that fork. Either I'm going to continue to be negative and like frustrated and angry for good portions of my day, like 2, 3, 4 hours of my workday, while I'm like whacking these moles, trying to get them to stop copying my shop. Or I'm going to focus on the positive path of releasing newer and better things, making new bundles, getting in front of new customers, working on, you know, wholesale and all that other kind of stuff that I was doing. And that was going to make me feel happy. And that was going to like charge me up so that I could continue to push forward during like some of the busiest times of my life, you know? And it's like, I feel like when it comes down to mindset, you really have to know why you started, what you want, and then like the choice becomes clear, right? But I find that there's like so many people, especially online, that just focus on the negative, or they like try and invent stories about things or like whatever. And it's like, if you're doing that, like I see it with business owners a lot, like in these Facebook groups, like dogging Etsy, dogging, you know, other shops, like fighting with people, just inciting all this drama all the time. Like you have to ask yourself why you're doing that. You know what I mean?
Well, that's two things there, right? So like the people with that mindset, like, and I've said this before, but it's like there is no right side of the bed for them to wake up every morning. I'm convinced of that, right? Like every day is a shitty day in their life because they have nothing else to do that way. But like, what is the value? You know, if they're angry or putting others down and that sort of thing, then is there a better way? Are they doing something different? If so, then share, right? Like, why not let people know? Like, what is the value that they provide?
Well, and like so many people don't want to share, but they just want to be negative, right? Like there's so many people that I find that like
anyone can bash, right? But why don't you help and provide a solution, right?
It goes back to my my story, like when I was like good at sports on my team, right? I was like the captain and stuff, but it was easy to bash that person and put him down. But it was harder for me to show them how to do it and keep showing them how to do it until they finally got it, right? And I'm just like, but when I bash, I feel like a complete idiot And I'm just like, dude, I can't do that. I feel bad, dude. Like, what happens if something happens to that person the next day, and I made something to make fun of him, and then he ends up dying the next day. Okay, let's the worst. Let's think of the worst. That can happen. And why would I waste my energy on putting someone down when I can actually help them and they can end up being a friend for life if I just show them one thing to make them better?
For sure.
You know. And then Jay, like, for example, like if I don't make a post right, and I post it in the group or whatever, Jay's like, hey, can you correct this? You made this mistake on the air. And everyone knows I suck when it comes to writing posts and all that stuff. But I'm good at it in a way. If I want to be funny, I'm good at being funny, right? But sometimes I suck, and then that's cool. It's my weak point. That's totally fine. But I'm good at other things, right? I know I'm good at other things, but I suck at others. And I'm very, with J and D in the back end, I'm very open about that. And they know that.
Yeah,
they can take stabs at me if they wanted to, right? Because I'm very open about it, and that's easy though, right?
Yeah, we don't, and that's the thing. We wouldn't do that, and I think that's the difference in mindset, right? Like at the end of the day, we don't do this. Like this is a lot of work we put together.
I'm terrible.
I would say, like we work on these bonuses. It's new content. It's updated, like for COVID this year, for like all of the different kinds of products and keywords and changes to the marketplace that have happened as people have been working from home, like all that stuff. We're working our butts off over here to make sure that like people who bought the challenge last year and are here again with us this year, they're going to have a whole different experience, whole different like things to learn with the bonuses and like different kind of nuggets and strategies to try and things like that. And it's not a small amount of work. You know what I mean? It's not like we're just sitting here being like, whoop, doo, 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 let's just run the challenge again. And it's going to be the same as last year. Like we don't do that. Right. And I think it's so important because it's like, it all comes down to mindset. Each and every one of us really wants to see other people win. Like I think each and every one of us divides some certain level of personal satisfaction. Like when we know we've given you a tip that's helped you, we've given you a strategy that's helped you, we've taught you something that's helped you. And I think, I don't know, like some people go around and will say, oh, these gurus or whatever. And like, I don't think any one of us at all has ever tried to position ourselves as the gurus and anything, you know. At the end of the day, what we are is people who have a certain level of success, who are trying to explain to you how to not make mistakes that we made along the way, how to find the easier path forward for your specific niches and your specific shops, because we've had to find them for ourselves. We're basically just trying to shorten that learning curve and shorten that amount of time that you're going to spend, you know, searching out these things, trying different things, whether it be on like Facebook, on Google, in groups, whatever. Like we're trying to just basically make it a concise process for you guys to follow in order to like really see the difference in your stores, right? And I think at the end of the day, it's why on these posts that we're doing for free for like, I think, what is it now, 7 days more? But like on these lives that we come and we do in advance of the challenge, we are dropping knowledge, you know what I mean? This one's a little different. We wanted you to get to know our backgrounds a little bit, to hear us kind of explain who we are a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, we're trying so hard to make you understand that you can have success online, that there are easy, proven strategies that you can use and implement in your store in order to like further your success. And we're not at all pretending that like we're making $1 million a year off of any of these things in our Etsy shops. You know what I mean? We're being honest with you and saying what our numbers of sales are. You can kind of, depending on, you know, how savvy you are, you can kind of deduce some of what we're doing and some of what our average carts might be from those numbers. But, you know, like it just, at the end of the day for us, it just really comes down to us wanting to see you win. Because I can tell you, when we got through the Etsy challenge last year and we were getting close to closing it down, and we were all a little emotional because we were like, oh my gosh, we put together so much stuff, it was so much work. We got, like, we were tired. We had been in there, you know, and it was emotional because it was like you were seeing all these people saying, oh, I'd had an Etsy shop for like a year that I never did anything with. And now all of a sudden I have these sales. And now all of a sudden I collected people on my email list. And I did what Dion said. And I got a few more sales that way. You know what I mean? And it was like the direct impact of all of this effort because like these challenges, they take a long time to plan. They take a long time to put together those bonuses. You know what I mean? So like it was the impact of our collective effort that like left us feeling amazing at the end of the day. And that's why we do it. You know what I mean?
It was like almost breaking up with people, right? With like 700 plus people. I was like, man, this sucks. Like, you know, and only, and not, you know, it was all amicable. It was like mutual. It was like, oh, this sucks. But yeah, so I don't know, man. Like, all we want to be able to do is provide, well, in my case, is like a little bit more time to do the things you've always wanted to do, whether it's, or just put some time back to spend it with the people that matter to you most, right? Like that coffee with that significant other, or that time just for yourself to just sit and stare out at, you know, the trees or the birds, like I do in the morning sometimes, and, you know, that kind of thing, right? You know, if you can make a little bit more money that allows you to have the freedom to do that and not get stuck in the daily grind of traffic all day. For me, it's the small victories, and they just keep growing, right? You put one on top of the other, and all of a sudden you know, you're able to go do something epic, once in a lifetime thing, maybe, and maybe not, but maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you just really want to have a few hours extra and a little bit of cash at the end of the month, right? So
well, that's the thing. It all depends on what your specific goals are. Like I can be honest with you when I say that when I first started selling online, my goal was not to quit my job. If you had told me when I first started selling that first year that I spent hand coding my website, that I would eventually just quit my full-time job and do my online stuff like on a regular basis as my full-time thing, I would have laughed you out of the room. I'd gone to university. I had been on this career path. I had my life in my head planned out. And people who know me personally know I'm a crazy planner. Like I have a plan A, a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, and then maybe like all the way down to Z just in case, because like I like to know that I know what I'm gonna do, right?
Don't forget, you got it in Spanish too as well. So let's not forget that. And I tell you all the time, like,
and I would have laughed you right out of the room. And then, you know, life happened, right? And that's the thing. Life happened. I learned, okay, like maybe this whole corporate thing isn't for me. Maybe, you know, what I really want to do is have that autonomy in my day and have the ability to work hard and see those direct results and, you know, like maybe just completely replace my income. And so when it comes down to it, it's like, you know, I was making 6 figures before. I replaced and surpassed that income working with things online. And it's like, I feel like I'm not a special unicorn. As much as I joke around, like I'm black on the outside and a unicorn on the inside. This has been my new joke for this year. I'm not a special unicorn. At the end of the day, I started in a spot just like every single person who starts on Etsy. Usually those people don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? They kind of try to figure themselves out as they go because y'all want to sell more, just like I wanted to sell more when I was first beginning. You know what I mean? And you learn, you apply strategies, strategies, like you take courses. I took courses not specifically on Etsy, but on online sales, e-commerce, marketing, all that kind of stuff, plus the background that I had in already doing that corporately, right? And I tried to apply myself to all of that content and really just apply it to my shop strategically in a way that would help me grow. And so at the end of the day, it's like, I just think, you know, if there's anybody sitting out there that's kind of sitting here listening to us and they're on the fence about whether it's worth it to spend this money on this course, it's like $97 for all of this content. I'm going to ask you, well, what's worth it to you to have success in your shop, right? Like what's worth it to you to shorten a learning curve and have access to people who are doing this and who have been doing online sales
for 30 days,
right? Like having access to back off the questions and get those questions answered immediately, and to have that bonus content that we put together for you that you can, like, that's yours to keep forever. Like, what's worth it to you? What's going to make it worthwhile? What do you need to see happen? And then ask yourself honestly, if you're going to do any of that stuff, if you don't take this course, truthfully. Because I know if I'm ever on the fence for something, I know damn well that, like, especially if it's a $97 something, but like, you know, I know damn well I'm probably not going to do anything if I don't take the course. You know,
if you were me,
oh,
if
yeah,
you were me, and I was on the fence, right, I probably would have fell backwards, right, and then like fell off the damn fence, and then got back up, climbed back up, and probably fell back down again, but still got back up to get on top of the fence and just hop over, and then I dropped the Etsy challenge link right there. If you guys haven't signed up, check it out. It's right there. Perfect lead way. Do I just start breaking it down real fast? And I see there's a few questions in here too. So what do you get with the Etsy challenge? Okay, 1 second. Let me knock this out real fast. Let me get this out the way. So what do you get with the Etsy challenge? It's a 30-day live training, Monday through Friday, weekends off to catch up with the content, exclusive content and business strategy, branding and marketing assistance, opportunity to have your Etsy shop reviewed privately. Okay, now we're gonna hop into the bonuses. Bonuses, private Facebook group, branding webinar, influencer marketing mini crash course. If you guys want to stop me at any time to speak in on any of this, you're more than welcome to. Bonus, then the next bonus a research webinar. I'm sorry, ideal customer boot camp course, 3-day training course, 5-day newbie course to get you warmed up for the pre-challenge. AMA, ask me anything once a week as we progress, and then private 30-day access to 3 experts in e-com.
Exactly. And so that's the thing. At the end of the day, like, but I feel like, we undersell this community, because this is AJ's point. Like, you can highlight it too, eh? So AJ says, not just coaches either. Plenty of us in the community or class support ourselves with online sales, and we ain't shy to help each other out. And that is 100% the truth. Like, I find when we're in this challenge, or we're even in the groups, like in the Etsy groups that we're part of and whatnot, people are wanting to help. It's the same idea. They want to help you succeed just like we want to help you succeed, because we all want to eat. You know what I mean? We all want to see everybody win. And we all know what kind of freedom comes from being able to sell online, being able to employ these strategies effectively in our businesses, and really, like, how life-changing the whole thing has been for each of us, right? So one last question. I want to actually hit Farsane's question there too, right above AJ's.
Samir, yeah. I was just going to say the same thing. So Samir also is.
That's one.
We see you, man. He's super helpful in the merch
cool.
community. So he does.
He's not a negative person at all. He's awesome. He's always helping. So shout out to you. So
working for oneself is great in every aspect, except for some perks that do come with a 9-to-5 job, like pension, medical, 401k. Do you guys compensate somehow or plan that direction in any way? So for me, one of my larger contingency plans is actually the diversification of income. Okay. So like, I have Etsy shops. I also have a business that I run that makes websites and does branding and marketing for people. And I also am a part owner in a cleaning company that's a local cleaning company to where I live. Okay. So I diversify my income so that none of my eggs are always in one basket, and I'm always kind of pulling from different pots. Right. Now, that being said, in terms of like, how I'm planning my contingency for, when I want to retire or whatever, basically that starts with essentially investing. Like Jay and I have been talking a lot lately about reinvesting, whether it be into a print shop so that we can expand our local marketing and start handling some business accounts, or whether that's in, real estate where we are kind of close, like he's close to me now, he's about 15 minutes down the road. But in our area now, like you can buy commercial spots for a lot less than where we came from. I'll put it that way, right? Well,
city. Yeah.
We've been kind of talking about those ideas. We're already in play with the print shop, right? Like we bought that printer together. We're kind of working to get all of our stuff over there. But the idea is basically that you're going to make your money work for you in some way, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's not the first step is obviously to learn how to make the money consistently. The second step is learning how to reinvest that money so that it's making you more money, right? So that you have the consistent sales and then you have the consistent investment coming so that, by the time we hit maybe a desire to retire, which I don't know, I feel like it's going to be probably a longer spread of time than it was when I was working a corporate job, because I actually like what I'm doing and who I'm doing it with now, right? But when you hit that spot, like you're going to have those investments and that stuff to kind of support you through, right? Now, I'm not like an accountant by any stretch of the means. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just saying,
advice. Yeah.
Yeah, this is not, like financial advice by any stretch of the means. But what I am saying is that like once you have got the consistent income part of that equation down, really it opens up so many different opportunities for how you intend specifically for your lifestyle, your goals, to basically reinvest in whatever way in order to make sure that like come the time that you're looking to retire, there is kind of a pension there that you have built for yourself, right? A cushion there financially.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all starts with getting the consistent sales.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And then, on the medical side of things, I would advise probably don't take this as my advice, but I mean, if you're going to be in a situation where you don't have medical benefits or access to medical care, then you'd probably want to make sure you have that figured out at least at some point. But I mean, being Canadian, it's one of the benefits we don't have to really stress too much about that way.
No one likes a bragger. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
It's literally one of the things that I'm grateful that I don't have to stress about.
No.
Seeing my dad get sick for 7 years, there's no bill at the end of that, right? There's no, voice money owing any of that crap, right? But yeah, no, I mean, in terms of a 401k, which I believe is like our RSPs, a retirement income fund, what we would have up here. Yeah, I mean, same page as D there. Diversification is key. I do okay on merch too. So merch by Amazon. So that's, a nice chunk of change for now that I'm looking to put that into potentially even real estate on a lower scale to rent out, just have a renter and somewhere local, and then work up to a couple of properties maybe. But nothing's out of reach if you're able to think bigger, right? And I needed to move. I just moved here 4 months ago to where I am now. And I just turned 42 this summer, and this last move and the shift, the pivot, all through the pandemic and everything. I am now mortgage free. I was mortgage free at 41, which to me is a fucking giant win. Like just knowing that I'll never have the stress of the mortgage. So now it's like that money. Where can I put it? I'm not going to just go be frivolous with it. I'm reinvesting into a business. I want to maybe do something else now, right? So it's like there's a whole new world, and a little bit of financial freedom goes a long way when you want a long-term plan, right? But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. We're coming up. We hit over an hour already. So yeah. I don't know what else to say. Coming up towards the very end, we're gonna go ahead and we're calling it almost.
Yeah, we're gonna call it. So tomorrow it's my birthday, and I just want to say, I know if you're watching this, come join us on tomorrow's live. I know we're hosting Anthony from E-Rank, and I have a little special present for somebody who joins us. There's going to be a little prize that somebody can win if you're live with us on that live, right? So whether you bought the Etsy challenge yet or not, you can come and you can potentially win a prize. It's my birthday. I want you to help celebrate with me. And so I'm going to give something really cute away. So that being said, come join us tomorrow. What time are we going live tomorrow, guys? Do you know?
No.
We'll talk about it in a little bit, but we'll be posting it. Yeah. Let's kind of see, because we had some good people. Had a lot of people join at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time last time, and we have a good amount of people joining right now too as well. So it's like a toss up.
Maraf has one. So forgive me if I'm not pronouncing it right. Has one question there. It was right before your links there. I think AJ is answering it. Can you have a second brand name account inside your primary account, like Etsy account, like with MBA? You can have different brand names. So every shop you open on Etsy has to be a unique account. Has to be a new account, new email address, everything. That's that.
Yep.
So, yep.
No, all right, guys. So I dropped the link right there. Tomorrow, special announcement from D. Tomorrow's her birthday. We're not allowed to ask how old, so don't ask. I might ask behind the scenes. She might like smack me or something, but it's all right. No, but guys, I dropped the link right there, guys. Thank you for joining us today. Awesome talk. Jay and D and myself, we shared an awesome story. If you guys are barely just hopping on, make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up. We shared some stories, some knowledge, so you guys can get to know who we are as individuals. I don't think we're bad people. I don't think we create fake accounts to act like someone we're not. So we're awesome people. That's it. And you just can't hate on that. You just can't. So peace out to you. And we love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.